all I was going to do today was read, and suddenly the day just got away from me. Hi, guys, this is Connie, and I'm back for another episode of Connie Reads, another fine myth. We are on chapter 17. If you hear noise in the background, it's my microwave coming up with a little cooking experiment. Oh, I feel so bad. More of this poor thing is being wilting away. Here we go. Chapter 17, a quote. The wonders of the ages assembled for your edification, education, and enjoyment, for a price. Quote by P.T. Barnum. While I knew my home dimension wasn't particularly colorful, I never really considered it drab until I first set eyes on the bazaar at Deva. Even though both Oz and Frumple, and even the imps, had referred to this phenomenon, I had never actually sat back and tried to envision it. It was just as well. Anything I could have fantasized would have been dwarfed by the real thing. The bazaar seemed to stretch endlessly in all directions as far as the eye could see. Tents and lean-tos of all designs and colors were gathered in irregular clumps that shoved against each other for more room. There were thousands of devils, everywhere, of every age and description. Tall devils, fat devils, lame devils, bald devils, all moved about until the populace gave the appearance of being one seething mass with multiple heads and tails. There were other beings scattered through the crowd. Some of them looked like nightmares come to life. Others I didn't recognize as being alive until they moved. But they all made noise. The noise! Twixt had seemed noisy to me after my secluded life with Garkin, but the clamor that assailed my ears now defied all description. There were shrieks and dull explosions and strange burbling noises emanating from the depths of the booths around us, competing with the constant din of barter. It seemed no one spoke below a shout, whether weeping piously, barking in anger, or displaying bored indifference. All bartering was to be done at the top of your lungs. "Welcome to Deva, kid," Oz gestured expansively. "What do you think?" "It's loud," I observed. "What?" "I said it's loud," I shouted. "Oh, well, it's a bit livelier than your average farmer's market or fisherman's wharf, but there are noisier places to be." I was about to respond when a passerby careened into me. He, or she, had eyes spaced all around his head and fur-covered tentacles instead of arms. "Wizilk," it said, waving a tentacle as it continued on its way. "Oz?" "Yeah, kid. It just occurred to me. What language do they speak on Deva?" "Oh, don't worry about it, kid. They speak all languages here. No devil that's been hatched would let a sail get away just because they couldn't speak the right tongue. Just drop a few sentences on 'em in Claudish, and they'll adapt fast enough." "Okay, Oz. Now that we're here, where do we go first?" There was no answer. I tore my eyes away from the bazaar and glanced at my partner. He was standing motionless, sniffing the air. "Oz? Hey, kid, do you smell that?" he asked eagerly. I sniffed the air. "Yeah," I gagged. "What died? Come on, kid, follow me." He plunged off into the crowd, leaving me little choice but to trail after him. Hands plucked at our sleeves as we passed, and various devils leaned out of their stalls and tents to call to us as we passed, but Oz didn't slacken his pace. I couldn't get a clear look at any of the displays as we passed. Keeping up with Oz demanded most of my concentration. One tent, however, did catch my eye. "Look, Oz!" I cried. "What? It's raining in that tent!" As if in answer to my words, a boom of thunder and a crackle of lightning erupted from the display. "Yeah, so?" Oz dismissed it with a glance. "What are they selling? Rain? Nah, weather control devices. They're scattered through the whole bazaar instead of hanging together in one section. Something about the devices interfering with each other." "Are all the displays that spectacular?" "That isn't spectacular, kid. They used to do tornadoes until the other booths complained, and they had to limit their demonstrations to the tame stuff. Now hurry up." "Where are we going anyway, Oz? And what is that smell?" The repulsive aroma was growing noticeably stronger. "That," proclaimed Oz, coming to a halt in front of a dome-shaped tent, "is the smell of pervish cooking." "Food? We came all this way so that you could have a meal?" First things first, kid. I haven't had a decent meal since Garkin called me out of the middle of a party and stranded me in your idiot dimension. But we're supposed to be looking for something to use against Istvan. Relax, kid. I haggle better on a full stomach. Just wait here. It won't be long. Wait here? Can't I go in with you? I don't think you'd like it, kid. To anyone who wasn't born on Perv, the food looks even worse than it smells. I found that hard to believe, but, pursued the argument gamely. I'm not all that weak-stomached, you know. When I was living in the woods, I ate some pretty weird things myself. I'll tell you, kid, the main problem with Pervish food is keeping the goo from crawling out of the bowl while you're eating it. I'll wait here, I decided. Good. Like I say, I won't be long. You can watch the dragons until I get back. Dragons, I said, but he had already disappeared through the tent flap. I turned slowly and looked at the display behind me. Dragons. There was an enormous stall stocked with dragons, not 15 feet from where I was standing. Most of the beasts were tethered at the back wall, which kept me from seeing them as we approached. But upon direct viewing, there was no doubt they were dragons. Curiosity made me drift over to join the small crowd in front of the stall. The stench was overwhelming, but after a whiff of Pervish cooking, it seemed almost pleasant. I'd never seen a dragon before, but the specimens in the stall lived up to the expectations of my daydreams. They were huge, easily 10 or 15 feet high at the shoulder and a full 30 feet long. Their necks were long and serpentine, and their claw feet dug great gouges in the ground as they shifted their weight nervously. I was surprised to see how many varieties there were. It had never occurred to me that there might be more than one type of dragon, but here was living proof to the contrary. Besides the green dragons I had always envisioned, there were red, black, gold, and blue dragons. There was even one that was mauve. Some were winged, some weren't. Some had wide, massive jaws, and others had narrow snouts. Some had eyes that were squinting and slanted, while others had huge moon-like eyes that never seemed to blink. They had two things in common, however. They were all big, and they all looked thoroughly nasty. My attention was drawn to the devil running the operation. He was the biggest devil I had ever seen. Hopefully 8 feet tall with fully 8 feet tall with arms like trees. It was difficult to say which was more fearsome in appearance, the dragons or their keeper. He brought one of the red dragons to the center of the stall and released it with a flourish. The beast raised its head and surveyed the crowd with seething yellow eyes. The crowd fell back a few steps before that gaze. I seriously considered leaving. The devil shouted a few words at the crowd in gibberish I couldn't understand, then picked up a sword from the rack by the wall. Fast as a cat, the dragon arched his neck and spat a stream of fire at its keeper. By some miracle, the flame parted as it hit the devil and passed harmlessly on either side of him. The keeper smiled and turned to shout a few more words at his audience. As he did, the dragon leapt at him with murderous intent. The devil dove to the ground and rolled out from under the attack as the beast landed with an impact that shook the tent. The dragon whirled, but the keeper was on his feet again, holding aloft a pendant before the beast's eyes. I didn't understand his move, but apparently the dragon did, for it cowered back on its haunches. The devil pointed forcefully, and it sunk back to its place at the back of the stall. A small ripple of applause rippled through the crowd. Apparently they were impressed with the ferocity of the dragon's attack. Me, I was impressed by the pendant. The keeper acknowledged the applause and launched into another spiel of gibberish, this time punctuated by gestures and exclamations. I decided it was about time for me to go. Gleep! There was a tug at my sleeve. I looked around. There behind me was a small dragon. Well, he was about 4 feet high and 10 feet long, but after looking at the other dragons, he seemed small. He was green, with big blue eyes and what appeared to be a drooping white mustache. For a second, I was panicky, but that rapidly gave way to curiosity. He didn't look dangerous. He seemed quite content just standing there chewing on my sleeve! The beast was eating a piece of my sleeve! I looked down and confirmed that part of my shirt was indeed missing. Gleep, said the dragon again, stretching his neck out for another mouthful. Go away, I said, and cuffed him before I realized what I was doing. Gleep, it said. Gleep, it said, puzzled. I started to edge away. I was unsure of what to do if he cut loose with a blast of fire and therefore eager to avoid it. Gleep, it said, shuffling after me. Buzz-a-bleep, roared a voice behind me. I spun and found myself looking at a hairy stomach. I followed it up, way up, and saw the dragon's keeper's face looming over me. I'm sorry, I apologized readily. I don't speak your language. Oh, a clod, the devil boomed. Well, the statement still stands. Pay up. Pay up for what? For the dragon. What do you think, we're giving away samples? Gleep, said the dragon, pressing his head against my leg. There seems to be some mistake, I said hastily. I'll say there is, the devil scowled, and you're making it. We don't take kindly to shoplifters on Deva. Gleep, said the dragon. Things were rapidly getting out of hand. If I ever needed Oz's help or advice, it was now. I shot a desperate glance towards the tent he was in, hoping beyond hope to see him emerge. He wasn't there. In fact, the tent wasn't there. It was gone, vanished into thin air. And so had Oz. Whoa. Well, that's the end of the chapter. And I'll see you for the next one. Be careful with that and enjoy. Please and thank you. Bye.